Hello, everybody. I'm Coach Calum. I've been a personal trainer for like 13 or 14 years now. I have a gym in Toronto. It's called Strong. It's pretty cool. Today, we're going to be talking about the split squat. Everybody's least favorite exercise. I know. This is as exciting for me as it is for you, but it matters. Today, we're going to go over how these movements work, why they're important, and then basically I'm going to give you a little something at the end just to help you will yourself into incorporating some of these harder things into your exercise routine. So strap in, it's going to be a time. All right, guys, we're going to talk about my core training philosophy today. It's a concept I like to call ambivalence. I'm not even actually sure I spelled that right. Really, when we're talking about exercise is a tool. Any exercise can be used basically to accomplish a wide variety of goals, but we run into problems when we start to hate exercises. So the split squat, I think, is a great example of an exercise that a lot of people hate. And the reality is that if you hate the exercise, you are much less likely to do it, and then you are much less likely to derive the benefit from doing it. The reality is any exercise has a lot of benefit, so we want to put you in the best position possible to be able to do these exercises and not get overwhelmed by your feelings about them. So we want to try to move, or at least convince ourselves that we don't hate an exercise. We don't have to love them. Love is overrated. I think realistically what we want to aim for is a deep ambivalence towards all exercises. I don't love it, I don't hate it, but I understand that these things are important and that there is a benefit that I can derive from doing it, so I am going to do the work despite how much it sucks, okay? That is piece one of my philosophy. Sponsored by VizPro. The second principle that I want to talk about here is simplicity, right? Very important. If something is simple, you're more likely to pick it up, you're more likely to feel competent, and the more competent you feel, the less uncomfortable you're gonna feel, and the less likely you are to hate the exercise. So, whenever we're introducing a new exercise, basically what we wanna do is introduce the simplest possible version of the thing. So, in this instance, the split squat is very similar to a lunge, is very similar to a Bulgarian split squat. But if we try and start this with a lunge or a Bulgarian split squat, which are much more complex or much more unstable versions of this much simpler exercise, the likelihood that you're going to be able to actually get any sort of strength benefit out of it, because it requires a lot of coordination, is much lower. So we want to start with the simplest version of the movement, and then we want to try and increase the volume. So once you've got the basic movement, you want to try and do as many reps and sets of it as you can for a while. Once you can do a lot of reps and sets and you're not getting sore anymore, then you want to start to increase the load. So you can do a lot of sets and reps of a really simple thing. Don't make it more complicated, just make it heavier. Once you can make it heavier, you can do lots of sets and reps, you can do it with a lot of weight, then you're ready to start adding complexity. And complexity is adding things like a rear foot elevated or something like that, like a Bulgarian split squat. Complexity is adding walking movements to the lunge or something like that. Complexity is adding more sort of like dynamics to it, so you're gonna actually pick your foot up each time. But when we're trying to just increase the strength on our legs individually, get used to doing these lunging patterns, we wanna do it in the simplest possible version, then we wanna do more of it, then we wanna do it heavier, and then we wanna add other things that are gonna make it so that it's more of a challenge for your nervous system to adapt to the movement that you're doing. Cool? So, we have to kind of split the split squat into two different, distinct, but equally important parts. So we've got our back leg and we've got our front leg. Now, our back leg is gonna help us stabilize and it's gonna help us maintain our pelvic position. Our front leg is gonna squat, okay? So our front leg is gonna move, basically. So this is our hips move, our knee bends, and our ankle bends. So this, we're not gonna talk about too much. Basically, squeeze this butt cheek, squeeze this quad. Your hamstring is gonna help to stabilize. Your tibialis anterior is gonna have to pull your knee forward over your ankle and help to create this bend. that is all we're going to talk about today. We'll make another video at some point if we want to talk about that in more detail, because today what we're going to talk about is the importance of properly stabilizing your core. And that is primarily the midsection and the back leg's responsibility. So we're maintaining the pelvic position and we're going to help to stabilize the core. Forgot that word. So we can think of our core like a bowl. This bowl is filled with milk and cereal, and other stuff that you might like. So what I want you to think about here is basically that you have a bunch of muscles that all attach to your spine and your pelvis here. And basically what those muscles do is they all pull in different directions. But the things that are going to be most important here are basically the hip flexor that's on the back leg, because that is the muscle that's going to be basically right here. And this muscle is going to be the one that is really tugging on your pelvis to try and dump milk out the front of it, okay? Now, in order to prevent that milk from dumping out the front of the bowl, we're gonna have to use these big, strong, six-pack ab muscles that are on the front here. So these muscles basically are gonna help to pull up on the front of the bowl, and those guys will help to counteract the force that hip flexor is applying to the front of the bowl. So if the hip flexor is pulling the bowl forward and the abs are pulling the bowl up, those guys sort of fighting and being able to maintain equilibrium will help to keep this level. Now, this muscle, basically, this muscle is very strong, but if this muscle is particularly tight or this muscle is particularly strong, it's still going to be very challenging for the bowl to stay level. And so what we want to do on this back leg, and the reason that it's really involved in maintaining the pelvic position, is because the glute, this big peachy butt flap here on the back, is also going to be able to help to push the pelvis underneath you. So this big glute muscle pushes this way, which helps basically drive the other side of this bowl down at the same time that the abs on the front are pulling it up. So we have this big, powerful glute muscle and these big, strong ab muscles both working to fight how tight that hip flexor is. So if we do this well, this is basically what's going to allow us over time to build strength, to maintain good core stability here. And this is actually what increases range of motion, flexibility, strength, reduces injuries and back pain, that sort of thing in the long run, is by getting this hip flexor over time to relax how hard it's pulling down on the front of your pelvis. So this back leg is basically what I want us to focus on today. So why does this matter? What are the benefits of the split squat? Calum, I hate doing this fucking thing. I don't want to do it. It's like, okay, fine. So you hate doing it, but you have two legs. So if you have two legs, you do need to train them independently, because the reality is if you only train things like both legs at the same time, like you only deadlift, you only squat, realistically, you're only ever gonna get as strong as you can get before the imbalance between your two legs gets too out of whack, right? Because eventually what happens is if one leg is significantly stronger, you start to add weird rotation, you add weird forces that come through your spine, your hips become uneven. Basically what ends up happening is you're just way more susceptible to injury. And when you're more susceptible to injury, or your nervous system senses that there's like a big imbalance between one leg or another, essentially either you start to get chronic pain or you start to get dysfunction, you start to plateau in strength. Basically it makes it so that eventually you're no longer able to progress and you're no longer able to get any stronger. Now, that's for people who train already. If you don't already train and you're just trying to get into it, and the only reason that you clicked on this video, frankly, I don't know why you're here, but if you are, thanks, love that. But realistically, if you are just trying to get the most bang for your buck out of the time that you're spending in the gym, basically any time that you have to do twice as much work in one set, you're gonna build more muscle, you're gonna burn more body fat, you're gonna have a greater cardiovascular training effect, you're going to be able to get better results for the same volume of time that you spend in the gym. And so I would really encourage people, especially people that are limited on time, people that just want general aesthetic goals or just general performance goals, strength goals, aches and pains goals, I would say that spending the time to get good at this exercise is probably like bang for your buck, the best exercise that you could possibly get good at. If you did no other leg exercise, you would probably get most, if not all, of the benefits that you ever need from leg training, from getting good at this exercise. And you can tell because it's the most miserable one to get good at. The other thing that you could think about, if you wanted to like really encourage yourself to get into this, is like, well, once you get good at this, everything else is way less shit. So spend the time, get good at the worst one, and then you'll be much better off for the rest of them. All right, gang. So now that we've talked about how this exercise works and all that kind of fun stuff, now it's really important to talk about the context in which we're using this. So this exercise is awesome for almost everybody that wants to get into exercise, but there are obviously some considerations that are going to be really important if we're talking about when to utilize this. Like if you just had a knee replacement or something like that, probably not a great idea to start using the split squat right away. You might have to really work up to it. You're probably going to have to listen to your surgeon, you know? These things are really important. So what I want to talk about here is just this concept that context matters, and I cannot tell you what the context is. I can only help you ask some questions that are going to help you determine what the context is. So if you're trying to introduce some exercise and you have a ton of joint pain when you're doing it, like realistically, is it going to be the best thing for you to start to do some of these like high rep split squats or something like that? Chances are that you're going to want to try and meet with somebody first. Like go and see a professional, go and take some time, and actually, like if you have pain every time you move, there might be some other stuff going on that is probably worth addressing, and you might want to get some specific guidance on that you're not going to get from a YouTube video. So context is really important. I'm gonna freeze up here for a sec. Just try and think about what the fuck I was thinking. There we go. I want you to leave all this in the final edit too. Like just every terrible. Okay. Do it. Okay. So, when you're deciding whether to put this exercise or any exercise into your program, it's really important that you understand what it is that you're trying to get out of the program. So, when we're talking about context, really what that means is, what are you trying to get to? We want to start with the end in mind. So, depending on what your goal is of your program, that will make whatever exercise that you're trying to choose more or less appropriate for your goal. So, when you're making your exercise programs, it's really important that you start with the end in mind. So, what are you trying to get to? What is the purpose of the program that you're writing? Do you understand what your primary goal is? Do you understand what your biggest challenges are? If you don't understand what you're aiming at or what is in the way of you getting there, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to make informed decisions that are going to be most helpful for getting to your goal. Fitness is kind of fun. In that it's really hard to be horribly wrong. like basically any exercise is usually pretty good for most people. Really what we're talking about when we're trying to get better at writing programs, or we're trying to get the best results possible, is we're trying to shrink the pool from like all of the exercises that are completely fine into the sort of 3 best possible choices. And the way that you can sort of determine what those best possible choices are is by best understanding what it is that you're trying to get to, and then what it is that's in the way of that. If you know those things really well, typically the selection of exercise becomes quite obvious because you know what's in the way and you know what you're trying to solve for. So my final thought for you today is I think the reason that people hate split squats is because they're not giving themselves the permission that they need to be bad at stuff. It is totally okay to be bad at stuff and to fail forward. I think that there's a lot of benefit to doing things that are new and uncomfortable. And I think that the split squat in the gym context is probably the greatest example of something that seems really, really hard and really challenging, and is really challenging, but that still has a ton of benefit. An example in my own life is a YouTube video. This is not something that comes particularly natural to me, but I do think that there is a lot of benefit in me being able to share the things that I know about fitness with you guys. And so I am doing something that I find particularly challenging, which is talking to a lens in an effort to try to convey some of the things that I think are going to be really helpful in helping you understand your body better and make it feel the way that you want it to feel. So I want to encourage you, if you take nothing else away from this video, hopefully you know how to keep your pelvis in the right spot, but I want you to take that knowledge and I want you to go and try some new things. And I want you to be okay with being bad at stuff, because the reality is you can't get good at stuff if you're not bad at stuff first. You're gonna have to try some things, you're gonna have to go and learn and give it a shot and see what works, and then go back and do it again, and then see what works and learn and refine and repeat. And as you go, you'll get better and better and better. And eventually, you might even be able to look at the camera for more than 5 seconds at a time. In closing, be bad at stuff. Try new things. Just do it anyway, because it will be very good for you in the long run if you can get over the hump and get yourself to try these things that are a little bit more challenging. Cool? Like and subscribe.